Okay, here we are, almost 60 seconds into the video. This is so suspenseful. Hello, one person. I'm so excited to have one person watching. Do you have anything you'd like to say or write? I have one person who pops in and then pops out. I just wanted to ramble a little bit, but I don't even know what to talk about. There's, you know what, the thing that I find really nice is, hang on. The thing I find really nice is the fact that I have nothing really to talk about. That I've just decided that some things I was talking about I shouldn't have been, but because of my circumstances, that's why I was talking about it, because I had no place to talk about it. But as time passes, you know, but all the same, you know, something that's been heavy on my thinking lately is that has started bothering me is that if I was married to a man who was in the military, with today's modern social media, I wonder how the military would handle that. I mean, they'd have to keep the wife completely separated from the husband and be doing whatever it is that they're doing related to probably not even letting the wife, she's not going to know exactly where he's at, because it's like, I would not want anything to happen to my husband. That's like, I would not want that on my conscience, that because I, well, let's say I had a really popular YouTube channel or something like that, which I don't, but let's say I did. I would not want to say something that would put him in harm's way, or any of his buddies. And so that's just where I'm at right now. It's like, my gosh, it's like, and there's one man that I still think about that I shouldn't, but and I thought, if he was in the military, or, you know, or even just had an important job, that, you know, the thing right now is sometimes I think the military, I mean, okay, so say that I was married to a soldier, which I'm not, but say that I was. And, okay, let's say he was someplace in Timbuktu, Middle East. And that's where he told me he was at, was Timbuktu. Hello, Alessandra, 090329. And so let's say that, yeah, let's say that I was married to General Mark Milley, and he was in Timbuktu in the Middle East somewhere, and I happened to say that on TV, which typically the military does their own communications, but I just wanted to use him as an example. I don't know why. And then I said where he's at. Well, there's a great possibility he might not even be there anymore, because they probably moved him out someplace else. Or they may not have given me an accurate location anyway. That's a possibility. Because that's just something I always knew anyway. And I never thought of that when they told us to think about good OPSEC. was that maybe the location where they were at was not accurate, because I had no idea where they were at anyway. I mean, for all I know, we could have been told that they were in the Middle East fighting a war, where they could have been off in the Mediterranean having a vacation on a cruise ship somewhere, as far as that goes. For crying out loud. And someone had said that one time. They said that one of the cruise ships actually went to the Mediterranean, for the troops to have recreation on. This was during Operation Desert Storm. And I asked my ex-husband if he got to go on the cruise ship, and he said no, that it wasn't there for them. He didn't know who it was there for. But they pulled in the big hospital ship. They had a hospital ship, and then they had a cruise ship there where they were supposed to be able to have some recreation and stuff when, you know, when they had some R&R to take a break from the war. That would get monotonous, being to war like that all the time. But I don't know what they did during Vietnam, though. I mean, Vietnam, oh my gosh, it's like, you know, the thing I think about, though, is that it's like, war is not easy, you know, it's not easy for families, and, you know, it's sometimes trying to get through to people, even like here on the homeland, about, we have issues here on the homeland, and people don't want to hear about it. But now they're actually talking about things that they didn't want to hear about 2 or 3 years ago, you know, in that short period of time. It just changes that quickly. And, you know, and now we're talking to people. I've been talking to people who actually are saying they know things are not realistic for the direction that it's going. There was a lady on TikTok today who was mentioning about the pricing, and she said something about the government at one point had talked about, oh, I know what it was. I was talking to her on TikTok, and she's in Ohio, and she said something about that they're going to cut back some funding in Ohio and make a whole lot more people homeless is what's going to happen. And so that they were helping some people in Ohio, and they're going to take away their funding, which means they're going to be left homeless. Now, I don't know who the woman is. She looks like maybe she could be a politician or something. I don't know. But I just try to avoid that at all costs, because it's not, to me, it's not worth it. You know, so I don't know what topics to talk about right now, because of the fact everything is so heated, and it's just a monopoly. I don't know. I just, you know, I feel like it's important to talk about these things, but at the same time, it's like, what about helping everybody? Nobody wants to talk about that part, about helping everybody. It's like, if you can't help anybody, you know, then if you can't help everybody, then, you know, and then, like, why even do it? You know, so it's kind of like the thing with capitalism. Now, presumably capitalism is not politics. Oh, see, that's what happens. I always lose when I talk about, I guess maybe it is politics, and people don't want to hear about it. That's why I just go off in color sometimes, because, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Hello. I got one comment. Anyone have anything they'd like to write about? No, I guess not. We got 3 people in here now. But you know what's funny is when I put in the shout outs. Now that one, when I put shout outs and promotions in my video title, I get a few comments, because people think that I can help them with social media engagement. Which is funny. I mean, there are ways of doing things. There was something new that I was doing. Oh, I know what I was doing. I just made some, okay, tell me a small act of kindness you saw or did. Yeah, maybe you guys can tell me that. If you want to. If not, you don't have to. You know, the small act of kindness for me was when the one that I remember was complete strangers who actually helped me when I passed out from heat exhaustion. And they stopped to help me. And they helped get an ambulance to me. And, you know, that's kind of the last time that I remember an act of kindness. Um, what is this? Micah Hudson, P6Y. Hello. Now, I did watch Doc Compton on TikTok today. He's always so funny. But he cut it short. He's got some new app or something. Now, he might be able to do his, whatever it is that he does on his app better than he can on YouTube or TikTok, maybe. I don't know. Um, it'll be interesting to see if he records on his new app. I mean, I always think it's fun to watch him do what he does with the scammers, and it had been a while since I'd seen him. Actually, it looked to me like it had been a while since he'd been even uploading videos, and there is some speculation. Some people are saying they think that he could be AI himself. I don't know, or that his wife is AI. I know she's been singing on TikTok, and so I don't know. It's quite the operation that he's got going on related to the scammers and the phone numbers and things like that. But he will call them up and flesh them out. Well, actually, there is a lot of scammers on TikTok right now, just in email, and it really ties in with what he's talking about and what he does, because you know that's one of the first thing. Oh, one of the things that I saw today was the military scams. And so that's why I was saying what I did, you know. So it says, so the thing is to never give them any personal information. Do not give anybody any personal information at all. The United States military is not going to ask for money. You don't have to pay to join the military. People have to be careful, especially when they're on the internet. Yes, absolutely. Well, and not only that, like I learned things the hard way, even just being married. I didn't realize that how a husband could turn into a scammer either. And so, yeah. I mean, so just pretty much don't say anything for the most part related to much for personal information or anything like that, or stay anonymous as much as you can, because of the fact that the scammers are out to get you. And, you know, so they're trying hard. The scammers are trying hard right now. They're stealing pictures from American citizens is what they do. Now, there was another lady on TikTok, and the lady that I was watching not too long ago, and she was talking about how there was two pictures that were the same, but the names were different. She didn't like that. Your dad was in Vietnam? Tell me more about that, Micah Hudson. Tell me about your dad being in Vietnam. Do you know a lot about it, or I mean, I know that there's an era of men who may not like to talk about things a whole lot. Um, and so, I have an appreciation for, oh my goodness, I didn't even know that. You didn't know what? What didn't you know? That they don't like to talk about things a whole lot? Yeah, or are you talking about that they use military and the recruitment and um, yeah, there's a lot of things that they're doing that are scams and frauds. The And see, there's a lot of things the United States military stopped doing that they were doing related to um, when the soldiers are deployed. And I think that could be because of all the scams or the anticipation of all the scams. And so that's something I happened to see on the internet today was about the people contacting people through TikTok and about military recruitment. And that's what they're doing now is scamming people through military recruitment. And, and so I just yesterday just had a guy asking me for money. Again, it's not unusual. It's like, well, what makes you think that I just have money to give to you? So Micah Hudson says, I think my dad was drafted to Vietnam. I don't know the whole story, how you got there. Then he served his time, and I think he retired from Vietnam October 6th, which was his mom's birthday. Well, that's interesting. Micah says, I've had people ask me for money, and I just told him I don't have any money. Yeah, I told him that too, that I don't have any money. Um, but for me, they keep asking and keep asking and keep asking, and it's like it just gets so annoying. And they're like, oh well, I'm over here. Oh, this is what they're doing. They're trying to tug on my heartstrings, and they're like, well, I'm over here. They're not feeding us at all. That's what they're saying. That's what they told me, that they're not feeding them at all. And so I actually have an open conversation going with two of them, I think, on TikTok right now. But they don't always just keep posting all the time. So, so I don't just stay over there because they're trying to scam other people through the TikTok messaging is what's going on. But I have two of them right now. And so there's one guy, there's another one, who is a little bit older. And so I think they're trying to get a feel for how old I am because I won't give them any personal information at all. And so they're fishing. They're on a fishing campaign right now. And so they threw out a name of something and telling me something, and they're like, well, why don't you believe that I'm United States military? And I said, because I just don't. I said, I just don't believe you at all. You've asked for money, and and I've told you no. You've told me to go to to a different app. I've told you no, I don't want to. And you're just, and so it's just like more or less they're just being annoying is what's going on. They're just being really annoying. And they won't leave me alone. And then he goes on and is telling me that he loves me. And I'm like, you don't love me. You are some con artist from a foreign country. And he's carrying it on like he knows me and that he loves me. And I'm like, and I don't even know where he got the information from. It's just he kind of chimed into my chat as though he knew me, and it's like I don't know who this guy is. His picture looks a tiny bit like the vice president a little bit, and I know the vice president used to be in the military. And so he looks a tiny, tiny bit like the vice president, a little bit. And, uh, but his head looks exceptionally larger than the rest of his body does. So it almost looks like his head is copy and pasted onto his body, but it's a pretty good copy and paste job. That's what it looks like to me. And so it's just a really strange thing that's going on related to the weather. Yeah, that's what everybody yeah, what's the weather like there? Yeah, it's hard to know what conversations. Yeah, that's the whole thing. When you ask about what's the weather like, then you can somewhat possibly identify location in that sense because of the fact that someone could look up all the places around the world. So let's say that you say that your temperature is 25 degrees during the day. Then someone can go on the internet and look for all the places that have 25 degrees. And then they can have an idea of where you're at. You know, I mean, that's a lot of work though, because there could be a lot of places that have temperatures that are 25 degrees actually. And so, that might not actually work as narrowing things down very much. It may or may not, just depending, so, um, I don't know, maybe temperature is somewhat safe. I don't know. But it's hard to know right now uh, well, to have a conversation about something because like for single people, it's like, well, single people or married people or whatever, whoever, I mean, married people like to talk to people too. And, so that's one of the problems though, when people are married and they're talking, it's like, well, they're not trying to pick someone up. So older people are just, and not all people are trying to do that, so they're going to have to accept now there's a whole bunch of older people on the internet. It's not just a kid thing. And people just like to have conversations. They're lonely. And they want to have conversation. They don't want to be scammed. And we don't want to be told that someone loves us because of the fact that they assume that we have money. And so they think that if they say they love you, that you're going to send them money. That's just insane. That's what these fraudsters are doing. Okay, so there's Micah Hudson says, this girl's named Clara. She's a YouTuber and she has hackers that come in her I live stream and they block the moderators. And I have put their sales as a mod, which is not right. What do you mean you put their what do you mean that you put their sales as a moderator? Well, that's what happened on Facebook. So when I was on Facebook and I had that group, I could say that my group was probably kind of hacked. When it had all the people go into the Facebook group. Okay, so I had like a group of 10,000, which that's not very big in today's grand scheme of things, because there's like thousands of people who have over 10,000 and over 50,000 and 100,000, followers on their social media platforms. And so, but I had what I thought was a relatively small group of people, and it got up over 10,000 people. And that's at a time when it was pretty easy to actually get people to join your group in the early days of Facebook. And so they came in and they were always blocking me. And that's the thing that made me mad, is it was like they were blocking me and then they could just go on and post whatever and I couldn't see it. And then I'd have people complaining to me about the hackers that were in my group, but I couldn't see what they were posting because they had blocked me. And that's how it worked on Facebook, is that when they blocked the host so on Facebook, I would have to call the person who starts the group. I would have to call them the host of the group. And so, and I had actually provided feedback to Facebook about it, about what was going on, and it was almost like they didn't want to invest any more money into the Facebook platform to fix it. And so it was just kind of like something that other people were taking advantage of. And then so they came in the group, and then they told me, they're like, well, if you don't like what's going on in this group, you can just turn it over to us. You can just give it to us. So they wanted my group. Basically, they wanted my group, I think, for the purposes of kind of bullying me out of my group. And so instead of giving them my group, what I did was I removed everybody out of the group. So I knew there was a lot of people who just plain weren't using it anyway, but I had a lot of names in there. And so it was a lot of work removing that many people, but it took a while. But I plugged away a little bit at a time, and eventually I had to start a second Facebook account, which I don't know how I pulled that off, because you're not supposed to have a second Facebook account. But I had to do that to actually, and then I made myself a moderator so I could see them. That's what I had to do. And so then I removed them that way. I just didn't say anything because I knew that if I said that I was a moderator or something like that, then the hackers would, then they would, um, block me from seeing them again. So, Micah Hudson says, I think what they do is they hack into her account, and I don't know how old. I know her account. Oh, you don't know how old, but you know her account. I don't know. I don't know how they get in. I saw that last night. Oh, yeah, I did. On TikTok, I saw that last night. One of the hackers, it was almost like he put me, I don't know how he did it, but he put me in on a pan. He's done it twice now. So it has me wondering how he does it. I don't, I mean, he's put me on panels. And so I was talking to some, I mean, I just sit there and be quiet, because the thing is if I say anything too crazy, then they'll just kick me off the panel. And so they actually kicked the guy that I called the hacker or the scammer off of the panel, because I told him that he was asking for money, and they said something about him that they didn't like about him, and they literally kicked him off of the TikTok panel. And so I don't know how he got back on. They kicked him off. He left, and then somehow he got back on. So it does have me wondering something, what kind of privileges that he has related to TikTok. Yeah, it's not your fault that happened on Facebook. Thank you for saying that, but it's not your fault for that happening. It's just that I felt like I put a lot of work into my group, but at the same time, I wasn't that big of a fan of Facebook anyway. Um, because I found that Facebook just seemed, I know what the thing is with Facebook. The problem with Facebook is because it's not a search engine. And so, for example, like with Google and YouTube, it's a search engine, so we can jump in on any trends. So people are becoming more and more comfortable with that, I think, where if they want to participate with a trend of some sort, they can. So if they are able to get their channel monetized and it does well, Which it sounds like right now everybody's channels might not be performing well. I don't know, but that's just what I keep hearing is that even some of them that have millions of followers and they're talking about they're getting deleted, someone's deleting them, and I don't know who is just randomly deleting all these people who have millions and millions of followers, but that's what they're saying is that their channels are getting deleted. And so now there was a lady on TikTok the other day and she was talking about how TikTok is a search engine. And I thought, well, that they're far from a search engine, but TikTok is better than Facebook though. I'll give it that much, except for the scammers and hackers. But apparently that's something we're going to have to live with because even YouTube has scammers and hackers. And I can't say that all hackers are bad though, because they're not. Sometimes people hack things for a purpose to, because there's such a thing as legal hacking and illegal hacking. And so illegal hacking, I think, is doing something that would be a crime. That would be like that would be like taking something that doesn't belong to you. And actually, I have had that done. So the people who did what they did to me, they illegally hacked. And it's like, well, they don't get qualified immunity for that. They don't get qualified immunity for that. How come these people have never been arrested? That's what I want to know. It's like, well, how is it someone who is police can just come and take computer equipment and just keep it forever? They don't. Why would they get qualified immunity for that? And so there has been. Now, someone was disagreeing with me when I wrote on TikTok today because I was on someone's live stream and they were talking about something similar, I guess, about the police and the juries. They talk about that all the time. And so I had looked up what was qualified immunity because a video came up. And so it said police have qualified immunity. So there was this woman, and they said she came in too hot, and they said she needed to de-escalate herself because she was coming in too hot. and she was just kind of like a Barney Fife little roly-poly fat little woman who was coming in telling some guy that he couldn't be recording she was telling him he couldn't be recording at the police station there. And so he says, well, if you keep going like this, you're going to lose your qualified immunity. And, but she just kept gnawing at him like she was a little piranha of some sort. And it was just, she was kind of annoying. And so then I looked up to see what qualified immunity was, and then there's this statement on the internet that says qualified immunity is actually, it says school teachers and social services workers have qualified immunity along with the police. And I don't know if that's true or not, but what it's referring to is it says, well, police can do things and not get in trouble for it. And so then it also gave qualified immunity to social services people and to public school teachers. So I don't know if that's true or not. So Micah Hudson says, what I don't understand is how people can get in somebody's account and hack the person. I don't understand how they do that. I have an understanding of how they do that. Big, sometimes I actually kind of think sometimes that sometimes some of the hacking videos and things could be staged for just video content creation purposes. And so there's in the networks, there's these people who will manage these accounts. They have it seems like thousands of accounts that they've made, and they can go into any one of them at any given time because that's how networks work. And so they're people who create all these YouTube accounts. So they could basically say that they hacked into someone else's account. So if someone else owned it before and then they passed it on to someone else. So it would kind of be like someone is buying the videos. So YouTube itself has said that people can buy the assets. So if you have videos on a channel, then they can buy then they can buy the assets. Now, the other way I will tell you is personal information. So, for example, okay, I'm going to use myself as an example. So, let's say I'm married. I'm married. I have a YouTube account, and oh, my marriage is going bad. So but my husband has access to my account, and I have personal information stored at the house. Well, then he has my personal information. So, which he still, if I would have kept my original YouTube channel, my ex-husband has the personal information, and he might have been able to get into my original YouTube account and literally take it over because he knew my birthday, he knew my social security number, he knew my email, he had all of my vital records. So that's something the internet in and of itself, I believe, does not take into account when relationships go on the rocks. And then one party has an account, a digital asset type of account, and so that's one way. That's one way there. Another one is just guessing at passwords. So you have an email address. You have an email address, and someone could just guess at what the email address is. They could just guess at what the password is. And then they get into the account that way. Oh, I'll tell you the other one. Now, Doc Compton kind of reminded me of that today. Doc, now he said he set up an app. He said he set up an app of in the on his website today. And he says, "Oh, it's a perfectly safe app." He says you can go set up your account and come on in. He says, "Come on in my app." And he says, I guarantee it's perfectly safe. But now the thing that I knew, okay, there was this place, it was through Google somehow, and it gave us the ability to set up an app. And so I went and I think I paid like $25 to set up an app. And so I set it up. And so I was the only one in there. I didn't expect that anybody was really going to go into my app. I was trying to tie it in with my YouTube channel, and I think I did use it for a little bit, and I think there was a few people that were in there. Now, the thing that I had noticed was that I could see their email addresses. So it was sort of like FeedBurner. FeedBurner, you couldn't see, you could see the email address, but you couldn't see the password. But in the app, though, you could see people's passwords. You would have access to their passwords. And so that was the thing about that, because that I thought, this person has access, just depending, this was the thing that was crossing my mind. Just depending on how the app is set up. So if the app is set up so that the owner of the app can't see the passwords, then you have to be a trustworthy person or business so that the people who are using your service feel confident that you're not going to abuse what they know could be abused, and that's the passwords. And so that would be like Google. Google does have a password recovery. Now the thing is like there's times I've called up. Did I call them up or how was it that I did that? Um, and in the past I've called up banks and um, and so they gave me in the past, they just gave you what the password was, so they're like, well, this is your password. And, so you can log back in. And then eventually they said, well, you're going to have to create a new password. And so I just started putting two and two together. It's like, oh my gosh, they know exactly. They're storing our passwords. They're storing our password literally. They remember what it is so that if our vital records got lost, then we can easily get into our information. But now, right now, it's almost like they're creating apps where maybe because so many millions of people are on the internet that they don't store that information anymore. And then we have to have personal information in order to get the app, and it's sent to us autonomously. And so, but the actual app or the website, the business, has our password information right on the website. So that's how it gets hacked. So someone creates something, creates a means um, to, I don't know what type of machine that they use, but um, they have the means to be able to get into, well, it could be the employees too. So if they're hiring people from places that they don't trust, or they just didn't care about, then they could easily get into uh, millions of different passwords and share that information with people, when they're allowing for other countries and things like that to get into vital records and information, then they're inviting the hacking to take place. Or that's what I think anyway. Um, I don't know if that makes any sense or not to anybody who's listening, if anyone is listening anonymously. Um, so, um, so I mean, what's the level of hacking that a person is talking about, And I always kind of felt that, for example, like with when I was married, um, an ex-husband has access to vital records. So they do have, an ex-husband has access to information that they can use to varying degrees to, and that's the same thing with an ex-wife as well, who has access to her ex-husband's personal information. Now, the thing with that is, though, for example, with people who are applying for Social Security and things like that, they have vital records to plug in with ex-partners. They have that information to plug in. So hackers, of course, are not going to have that information. They might try, but they're going to have to verify that this person, you could have some random person say, oh, well, this woman is my ex-wife and I'm trying to claim on her Social Security because she was the breadwinner of our family. And some random guy from Timbuktu, Middle East, is just trying to apply for something that is not his, but he's just decided to try to hack into the system of getting benefits that don't belong to him, because he's gotten a hold of some vital records, because personal information is always being sold in the United States. That's Social Security numbers, for crying out loud, are checking information. At one time, we had to have Social Security numbers and phone numbers on checking accounts. And now that's the information how hackers, so if they keep they so let's say you're someone who has never moved. You've lived in the same place for over 50 years and you're going to be an older person. So someone could have, they could still have your social security number, your phone number, because your phone number has never changed, and your address. And so they have all this personally identifying information about this person. And that's a lot of the same information that you use to get to recover passwords. So it doesn't surprise me, so when I heard about in the past about all the hackers who had, or that there was breaches in all these companies related to someone getting into um, email accounts and bank accounts, and it really didn't surprise me. Um, so, and that's now what they're saying pretty much is that everybody can get hacked into one way or another because all the information is already out there anyway. And, so, I mean, that's not really a peace of mind though, but it's kind of a thing of saying that there's always the potential to be hacked, because someone else might have some information that belongs to you and they have that information. And so they might be able to try to use that for some reason, so, and that would be the same with police databases too, because when they're doing police reports, so for example, um, police reports give identifying locations and personal information. I mean, so what? We've never heard anything on TV that a police department has been hacked and that the personal information got out of a police department. I've never heard that. Have any of you? I don't know. I've never heard that before. But why wouldn't a police station get hacked? Are they that secure? So what all these other places on TV, even the social media websites are saying, pretty much admitting, all of them are saying, well, yeah, we were hacked. Well, why is it the police stations are so secure? Because the thing I was thinking about was former FBI Director Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. They were talking about, well, when Congress was grilling them over their illicit affair that they had together, um, Peter was admitting, and I always thought Peter looked a lot like Justice John Roberts. I thought he looked an awful lot like him. And then there was one of those other guys too. Was it General White Funk? Uh-oh, the police. Where are the police out here now? Oh! Uh-oh, they're chasing the pink Tesla. I wonder what the pink Tesla did. Oh, that might be too identifying. Oh my gosh. That's going to be too identifying. That's funny. That's hilarious. They're chasing either that or the pink Tesla has a siren on it. It very well might. The pink Tesla might have a siren on it. Oh my goodness. Oh, they just think they're being clever. Um, they just think they're being clever. Oh, they're being slick. And someone told me the other day, they're like, I don't want you talking to Elon Musk. Are they still chasing it? Oh, the siren's still going. And so, yeah, so what was I talking about? I was talking about, oh, yeah, the police. The thing I was saying, okay, so why is it that a police server would be any less vulnerable to being hacked than any other company website? That's the question I wanted to ask, is why would a police server be any less apt to being hacked than any other company, since we already know that most places are hackable. um Qualified immunity. Well, yeah, I mean, does Elon Musk have qualified immunity? Is that a does Elon Musk have qualified immunity? There looks like there's a whole bunch of cars that are driving around outside. My goodness sakes. Like a bunch of brand new cars? I don't know. I've never seen the cars look like that before. They kind of look like some super futuristic kind of cars that people are driving around. They look new. That would be nice to have a new car, but they're so gall darn expensive. I would love to have a new car. Yeah, a newer car is a peace of mind thing. Um, oh, they're still chasing something. Who are they chasing? They're chasing somebody. Oh, there they go. Oh, I shouldn't have said that, maybe. There they go. They're chasing, I think they're chasing the pink Tesla. I wonder what the pink Tesla did. They're chasing the pink Tesla. That's what it looks like. I can't believe that. They're chasing the pink Tesla. We might need to make a video about that and put it on our news on YouTube. We're going to have to. Yeah, it looks like the police are chasing the pink Tesla. Um hmm. It probably was speeding or something. I've not heard anything at all about the pink Teslas and how fast they go and what their miles per hour is, like if they are good race cars, the pink Teslas or the Cybertrucks or whatever they are. I mean, it's just someone's loaded, got lots and lots of money, and they're just completely showing off that they got a pink Tesla. But okay, I really don't have anything to say, and that's what my video from the beginning, I was pretty much saying that I was just going to be rambling about nothing for an hour. Um, all right. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys the next time. Well, you know what? I want to do something fun, though. I'm going to either do something, either crochet or drawing. I want to kind of want to do a hard drawing, though. A harder drawing, or I'm not sure what exactly. I'm not sure what exactly I want to do. Maybe they're trying to arrest Elon Musk. Can you imagine? Maybe they are. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if someone tries to arrest Elon Musk. That could be what they're gonna do. Maybe they're going after him. I don't know. Alrighty. Well, we'll see you guys the next time.